Hello, all of my fellow book friends, and welcome to another one of my videos. I got my handy dandy TBR jar. I got my prompts in here. It's been a few months since I made these. I don't even remember what I wrote and what's in here. Anyways, let's just get right into it because I'm curious to see what books I'm going to be reading in the month of June. So we're gonna give it a nice shake here. Shake, 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 shake. And then obviously I have got my Taya. Taya, come here. This is Taya. You'll practically see her in just about every single one of my videos. She's an Alaskan Kleekai, and she's like my best friend, and she has to be wherever I'm at. So come here, over here, lay down. Okay, now let's do this now. What one looks good? Okay, she licked this one. Let's see what we got here. Okay, a book you discovered on social media. I feel like it was a lot of books, but I think I know what I'm going to do. I think I know. I think the very first book that the person that I was watching mentioned on the social media was Zodiac Academy. And I immediately went out and purchased all 9 books. I didn't do the side stories because there's like 12 books in total. I've been meaning to get to this series for a long time. And I know I'm definitely not going to be able to get through the entire series in 1 month. That's just, I mean, at that point, what's the point of this video? Because it would just be all Zodiac Academy, bye, see you guys later, you know, 5-minute video. I'm pretty sure just about everybody at this point has heard about Zodiac Academy, but in case you haven't, I'm going to read the back of it for you. I am a Gemini, impulsive, curious, headstrong, a twin, heir to a throne I know nothing about, and it turns out I'm Fae. But of course there's a catch. All I have to do is claim my birthright to prove that I'm the most powerful supernatural in the whole of Solaria. And sure, technically that's true as I'm the daughter of the Savage King, but the bit they don't put in the brochure was that every single fae in this kingdom would claim my throne if they could. In this deadly academy, vampires bite weaker students in the corridors, the werewolf pack has orgies in the Wailing Wood at every full moon, and don't even get me started on the twisted ways the sirens use their powers on people's emotions, or how my sinfully tempting cardinal magic professor hosts detentions that leave people needing therapy. Classes are totally interesting if you manage to live through them, and that Gemini star sign I mentioned, it now determines my elemental magic and affects my destiny. So learning astrology is essential if I'm going to beat down my classmates, which is actively encouraged, by the way. My biggest problem is a dark-hearted dragon shifter who has his eyes on my throne. He and his 3 psycho friends are determined to make my time here hell. All I've got to do is survive, but fate may have other ideas. Damn it, why couldn't I have gotten a letter to Hogwarts? Yes, we'd rather deal with Voldemort than a dragon shifter and his friends. I think from all the series is it makes it sound like it's from the point of view of one person, but I do believe that we go into the perspective of both of the twins. I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me on it, but I'm pretty sure. But we're just going to go inside the book, just randomly somewhere. I'm going to read something. He didn't bother with farewells before turning and striding away from Orion. My heart leapt as I recoiled further into the shadows, but thankfully he chose a different alley, and I waited as his footsteps beat a path away from me. But I am excited to finally get a chance to start Zodiac Academy. I feel like this book 1 was on my TBR a couple months ago too, but I never got around to it, so... Oh, and I want to add too, I will be picking 6 books. 6 books seems to be the amount of books I've been able to get through in a month. 9 books, if I could manage, that would be ultimate. So I pick 6 and then I have 3 for mood reading if I have the time or the ability or whatever. La da 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 da. Oh, I'm going to pull a whole bunch of them out. Okay. A book with your favorite color. That one's going to be tough. So I had to go look on my virtual TBR, and I decided to go with this one. This is book 2 to Ruthless Creatures, which is a book that I read in the month of April. This follows Ruthless Creatures, main FMC's best friend. And you kind of got to see at the end of Ruthless Creatures, she gets kidnapped. Which kind of makes sense because there's things that happened in book 1 that involved her. She has a way of getting herself into trouble. So I think that the guy that kidnaps her, I think he's like the head of an organization or something, or maybe he works for the head, I don't know, but I think the chemistry ends up being between the two of them. I cannot wait. And of course my favorite color is green, and the pages on this book are green. I mean, I had another green book, and it's the Elsie Silver book, Wild Side, but that's like book 3 in a series, and I've only read book 1. Next, upside down. A book about books. Easy. Another book that I have had on my TBR forever. We've got Book Lovers by Emily Henry. This is definitely, I think, a book about books. In a way. One summer, 2 rivals, a plot twist they didn't see coming. Nora Steffen's life is books. She reads them all. And she is not that type of heroine. Not the plucky one, not the laid-back dream girl, and especially not the sweetheart. In fact, the only people Nora is a heroine for are her clients, for whom she lands enormous deals as a cutthroat literary agent, and her beloved little sister Libby. Which is why she agrees to go to Sunshine Falls, North Carolina for the month of August, when Libby begs her for a sister's trip away. With visions of a small town transformation for Nora, who she's convinced needs to become the heroine in her own story. But instead of picnics and meadows or run-ins with a handsome country doctor or bulging four-armed bartender, Nora keeps bumping into Charlie Lestrade, a bookish, brooding editor from back in the city. It would be a meet cute if not for the fact that they've met many times and it's never been cute. If Nora knows she's not an ideal heroine, Charlie knows he's nobody's hero. But as they are thrown together again and again in a series of coincidences no editor worth their salt would allow, what they discover might just unravel the carefully crafted stories they've written about themselves. I would say that this is a book about books. She is a literary agent. He is a book editor. She loves books. Like, book is literally in the title of the story. And definitely, again, a book that I am excited about. We're going to just pick a random page here, and I'm just going to read something from it. I scoff. Of course I know how they end. Not only have I watched my exes live them, but when Libby and I still shared an apartment, I'd read the final pages of her books almost compulsively. That never really tempted me to turn back to page 1. I don't know, I just picked a random paragraph. No clue. Eventually it'll make sense, though. And of course we have to smell the book. Oh, it smells good. Okay, we're on to book number 4. I feel like we're getting so far a nice mix of books. We've got a dark mafia romance, we've got a fantasy romance, and then we got a cutesy kick your feet up romance. So let's see what we got here. A book with a cover you don't like. That one is going to be really hard, honestly, because one thing about me is when I'm picking a book, what draws me in is the cover. So I think we're going to go with Beneath the Stands, which is book 2 in the Sugar Lake series by Emily McIntyre. I don't necessarily hate this cover. If I would have saw this in a store, it wouldn't automatically draw my attention. The only reason why I bought it is because I've read book 1, which is Beneath the Stars, and that was a really, really good book. I already know who the MMC and the FMC are. It's gonna be kind of nice to hear things from their perspective. In the first book, you kind of know something's going on between the two of them, but you don't know the story, you don't know about what happens. But again, it's not a bad cover. It's just compared to all the other books on my TBR, this was just very generic. It wasn't very sparkly. It didn't have a lot of like really cool stuff on the cover or, you know, on the pages. So this one was just more very generic. So that's what I decided to go for. Who knew it was possible to fall in love with someone you hate? Elliot Carson left Sugar Lake and never looked back, revered as the next big thing in basketball. Eli's a star until an injury ends his career, sending him spiraling with no direction. But he won't go home. He can't. Instead, he accepts a coaching gig at Florida Coast University, determined to leave his past behind. But fate has other plans when Becca, his sister's best friend, shows up as a student and, even worse, becomes the new team manager. Rebecca Sanger is the preacher's daughter and the town's disappointment. When she ignores her family's demands to come home, she's cut off and needs a job to stay enrolled at FCU. She thought she had everything figured out until Eli Carson, the person she hates more than anything in the world, ends up being her new boss. Forced together, Becca and Eli's hatred turns to heat, but disaster quickly strikes, ripping them apart. Years pass. Becca's back home, under her parents' thumb, living a mundane life when Eli shows up out of the blue with a fiancé in tow. Becca is tasked with planning their wedding. There's only one problem. Becca still loves Eli, but he hates her. For the second time in their lives, Becca and Eli are forced together, and they'll find out just how thin the line is between hate and a love that lasts a lifetime. I have high hopes for this particular book. Okay, on to book number 5. Woo woo! I feel like I'm getting a lot of romancy style books this time around. There's only one fantasy romance in here. Okay, the first book of a series. Okay, so we are going to read Flawless by Elsie Silver. This is book 1 in the Chestnut Springs series. I haven't read any of them. This is, again, another book that has been on my TBR shelf for a while. So we're going to read this one. I read Wild Love by Elsie Silver, and I think that was the first Elsie Silver book I read, and I absolutely loved it. So I have high hopes for Flawless. This is supposed to be more like a country romance, which, again, I'm definitely here for it. The rules were simple. Keep his hands off his agent's daughter and stay out of trouble. But now he's stuck with her. There's only one bed, and, well, rules are made to be broken. Rhett Eaton is the face of professional bull riding, the golden boy, or at least he was, until it all blew up in his face after a public brawl. Now his agent says he has to clean up his image and sticks Rhett with his ball-busting daughter for the rest of the season as full-time supervision. But Rhett doesn't need a goddamn babysitter, especially one with skin-tight jeans, a sexy smirk, and a mouth she can't stop running, a mouth he can't stop thinking about. And he quickly learns that Summer Hamilton isn't just another conquest. She sees the man behind the mask, and she doesn't run. She pulls him closer, even when she shouldn't. Summer says this means nothing. Rhett says this means everything. She says there are boundaries they shouldn't cross, that Rhett's reputation can't take any more hits, and neither can her damaged heart. Rhett says he's gonna steal it anyway. I love me a cowboy. I married a cowboy. I married a cowboy soldier. But yes, yes, please. Can we please pretend that never happened? Her palms muffle her voice. I grin and shake my head, crossing my arms, irrationally pleased with the whole thing. Not a fucking chance, princess. It's gonna be good. I just know it. I just know it. And it's book 1 in a series. Okay, so we are now onto our last prompt for June. Are you ready? Let's hope for a good one. I'm really trying to shake him up. I shouldn't say let's hope for a good one. I feel like all of them have been good so far. But I'm starting to learn that on my TBR shelf, I'm starting to run out of fantasy romance books. I'm going to have to look around for some more. A book you think you will rate 5 stars. As much as I didn't want to do another big book in the month of June, it's gonna have to be this one right here, City of Souls and Sinners. This is book 2 of the series A House of Devils by Kayla Edwards. I do believe that this is going to be a 5-star read for me. This is the only book that I'm not going to really read the back of because I haven't read book 1 yet. I'm actually, as I'm filming this now, it is only May 14th. I'm getting ahead on some videos, okay guys? So I haven't even gotten to reading the first one yet. It's gonna be like the next book I read. So I don't want to read the back of this yet because I don't want it to give anything away. And I have a feeling that it will. I will tell you guys more about this book once I've read it and I'm doing a review on the books that I've read in the month of June. I definitely see this as being a 5-star read for me. These are all the books that I plan on reading in the month of June. Plus the one that I have to still order and have it get here. It's going to be a good selection of books. But I definitely do like having my next plan for my books in the next month, right? Especially when you have so many books on your TBR, right? Like, it's kind of fun to do things like this. I am going to have to start thinking about doing another book haul buy so that I can start replenishing some of my TBR books, especially in the fantasy romance genre, because I've got a bunch of cutesy books up here, but I'm starting, like I said, I'm starting to run out of my fantasy romance, which I absolutely love. So I'm going to have to look into some more of those. You know what? If you have any fantasy romance recs that I haven't talked about already or haven't read, go ahead and put them down in the comments below. I could definitely use some recs. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.